Shalom, everyone. It's been a long time since I've uploaded. Um, Honestly, the Father's blessed me with a whole side business and family and problems with my truck and stuff like that. And so, against my own will and every intention I had this morning, I get a day off. And that being said, um, the phrase "give it all to God" was brought up to me earlier, and a couple of weeks ago, rather. Um, and at the time, most of the time, whenever I heard that phrase, especially growing up and, when things didn't really add up, the phrase "give it all to God" sounded like an excuse to me. And that you have, pretty much you reap what you sow. You dug yourself into this hole and you're going to have to get out of it, whether you like it or not. But for some reason, whenever, and I was worried and anxious because, I got my full time job, I have a side business, thankfully, and with my truck going down, it seemed like I was trying to juggle 14 plates at once, and I wasn't able to, uh, it seemed like they were starting to wiggle around to where I wasn't going to be able to catch them if they had fallen down. And so whenever I was told, well, you just need to give it all to God, and the phrase hit me different, and I think it would hit me in the way that it hits most people. You don't give it all to God because you still have to wake up the next morning. You still have to eat the food that's put on your plate at the dinner table, and you're not getting up from that table until you finish your food. Or at least that's how I grew up. And needless to say, you dug yourself into your own hole. You reap what you sow. You're going to have to get up and take care of it. But you do give your worries and doubts and fears to God and pretty much just take one bite of the elephant at a time until it's all done. And of course, as life goes on, we learn that that elephant's never going to go away. There's always going to be something to chew on. But with that being said, scripturally, I wanted to bring up Luke chapter 22, starting in verse 39. And coming out, he, Yeshua, went to the Mount of Olives according to usage, and his taught ones also followed him. And coming to the place, he said to them, "Pray that you do not enter into trial." And he withdrew from them about a stone's throw, and falling on his knees, he was praying, saying, "Father, if it be your counsel, remove this cup from me. Yet not my desire, but let yours be done." And there appeared a messenger from heaven to him, strengthening him. And being in agony, he was praying more earnestly, and his sweat became like great drops of blood falling down to the ground. And rising up from prayer, and coming to his taught ones, he found them sleeping from grief. And he said to them, "Why do you sleep? Rise and pray, lest you enter into trial." And while he was still speaking, see a crowd, and he who was called Yehuda, one of the 12, was going before them, and came near to Yeshua to kiss him. Now, the reason why I bring this up, this is where Judas comes to betray Yeshua, obviously, at the end of verse 48. It's not so much, and I'm not trying to downplay his sacrifice or anything like that, but beforehand, he's praying to the Father, "If it be your counsel, remove this cup from me, yet not my desire, but let yours be done." And fast forward a little bit, he was praying so earnestly that his sweat became like great drops of blood. And I don't know if you know this, but hematidrosis is actually a thing. It's where you're overcome with so much fear, so much anxiety, so much worry, whatever you want to call it, that your sweat glands collapse and they actually cause, the blood vessels, instead of sweating, you're going to bleed. And that's only caused, or at least in most cases, by great bouts of fear, panic, and worry, and just being scared. And so, what this scripture brings to me is the humanity of God. And there's a couple of other different scriptures as well, but that's another topic for another time. But it shows the humanity of God and the humanity of Yeshua, that he was just like us. You know, the other day I was so worried, I was sitting there shaking because I didn't know what I was going to do. I had to go to work the next day, and I had to go to my side business the next day. And my truck, its transmission's just going to crap, even though I just had it rebuilt and I got all these problems going on. And not only that, I got my wife, I got my in-laws, I got my family, I got a garden, I got, all these plates, and they just keep stacking up. Or at least that's the way it felt. And so whenever my wife told me to give it all to God and to pray for it, it really changed my perspective on it, because this scripture is what busted out into my head whenever I heard that. And it's not because, like I said, I'm not trying to bring God down to just being a human level, but it definitely makes it easier to relate and connect to the Father and to the Son. And with that being said, to allow the Spirit to enter into your life and to help lead and guide you, calm you down in my case, to where even today, like I said in the beginning of this video, I wasn't ready to take a day off. I've been working, now granted, except for Sabbath, I don't work on Saturdays. But besides Shabbat, I haven't had a day off in a long time. And I'm not talking about just 8-hour days. Tuesday, I left the house and I didn't come home until 10 o'clock that night, trying to get this house done for my side business so that I can continue working in AC. But what really motivates me with this scripture and with the phrase, give it all to God, is that Yeshua, after praying so fervently that his sweat glands started bleeding, he still got up and he still went. He knew Judas was going to betray him, and he still went and tackled what it was that was coming his way. He still did what the Father asked him to do. Even though he was praying fervently. And in the other Gospels, he comes back to the disciples and finds them asleep. He goes back and keeps praying some more. And he comes back and he finds them asleep again. And so it's motivation to keep your word. Keep your promises that you make to people. And this includes your job, whether you're on contract or you're just expected to show up every day. No matter what goes wrong, understand that the Father takes care of you just as he takes care of the birds in the heavens and the flowers of the field. And if I remember right, and I know this is kind of off the top of my head, but I'm wanting to say that's Luke chapter 11, which is just a few pages back, where Yeshua himself is talking about this. And I could be wrong. I could be very wrong about the scripture placement. Oh, I'm sorry, Luke chapter 12. And he said to his taught ones, for this reason I say to you, do not worry about your life, what you shall eat, or what you shall drive, or when you shall go to work, or when you shall eat your food, or when you shall take time to spend with your kids, with your family, with your loved ones. Take time to fix your truck. Do not worry about your life, what you shall eat, nor about the body, what you shall put on. The life is more than the food, more than the truck, more than the side job, more than anything. More than the food, and the body is more than the clothing. Look at the ravens, for they neither sow nor reap, which have neither storehouse nor granary, and Elohim feeds them. How much more valuable are you than the birds? And which of you by worrying is able to add 1 cubit to his lifespan? If then you are unable to do the least, why do you worry about the rest? If you're unable to plant one plant, why are you worried about preparing and setting up food, for when that day comes? If you're unable to do the least, why do you worry about the rest? Do the least. Do the little things. If you can't tackle that big bite, if you can't put your truck in the shop like what I can't do right now, only because I just don't have time, why worry about the rest? Just do what you can, as you can. And I'm not going to say that, God only puts on you what he thinks you can handle. No, exercise isn't exercise because you only do what you think you're able to do. Exercise is actually, if you're sitting down on a bench press or you're going for a run, you're going to run as hard as you can. You're going to run as far as you can. You're going to try and lift as much as you can. And especially with lifting, the reason why you're sore in the morning is because your muscles actually tear a little bit. Whenever you push yourself to that limit, whenever you just barely pass what you think you're able to do, and you do those reps and you push through the hard times, you put that bar back up on the bench, and the next day when you come up, or the next week when you come up, you add 10 more pounds because you can handle that. If God only puts on you what you can handle, then you're never going to grow stronger. You're never going to get better. It's not an easy life. For the sweat of our brow we're to work this land so we can eat our bread. And so because of that, God puts all these responsibilities. For me, like I said, my side business came out of nowhere. I say accidentally, mouthed off to a builder we were working AC on, about doing some trim work. And lo and behold, he gives me the entire operation, and I've trimmed out several houses this year so far. And on top of that, done my best to be at my primary job as much as I can be. And it's, me having this business has stressed out not only me, but others as well. And I regret that. Of course, I wish it was all hunky-dory and no one had to stress out as much. But I'm trying to do the hard work now so that later on I can reap the benefits. Not in a selfish way, of course, but, if I set it up to where, whenever I'm in my 50s or so, I can have a crew or 3 crews or however many crews out there trimming houses, then by all means, shoot, I'm down for some passive income. I'm just trying to prep for Tuesday as well as Doomsday, But that being said, and I'm going to read it again. And which of you by worrying, this is chapter 12, verse 25 in the book of Luke. And which of you by worrying is able to add 1 cubit to his lifespan? If then you are unable to do the least, why do you worry about the rest? God's going to take care of you. As long as you get up, you keep going. Even though you feel like you're sweating blood, you're not sweating blood. We didn't ever go through. We are blessed to not have to go through what Yeshua and the apostles and the early church did. We're blessed that we can just pick this book up, and if we don't have this book, we can go out and buy one freely. Well, you have to pay for it, of course. But all of our worries that we have nowadays aren't really worries. We stress ourselves out on them, and it's not a hunky-dory life, and I'm not trying to say that, but I am saying that we are tremendously blessed in this life that we have today. Because there's been people killed over this book. There's been people killed for their belief in Yeshua. There's been people killed without their belief of Yeshua. You don't necessarily have to be of some denomination or no denomination in order to have hard times. But in any case, I'm recording this video at the request of some other folks. And because I mentioned this a while back, and I told them whenever I had time, I'll record it. And lo and behold, the Father put it on me. Well, he took it out of my truck to give me some time today so I can record this for you guys. So bless you all. Keep reading. Keep doing the word. And shalom.